Hey, Wonderhussy here, lurking around the Mojave Desert on a bitterly cold winter's night in the pitch dark, in full makeup, because that's what I do. Actually, I just met up with my friend Larry to shoot some photos for my 2021 calendar, so I had to get all glammed up for that. So Larry and I went out to the desert. We met up at a really cool place and shot, we shot a few pics for the calendar, and then the plan was we were going to camp out, and I was going to make Larry some of my world-famous Frito Pie. But even at 4 o'clock when we finished shooting, I mean, it gets dark real early this time of year, the sun started to go down, and it started to get really cold. And well, the idea of camping out where we were shooting the pictures just didn't seem appetizing. So it occurred to me that, wait a minute, if we just continue on this road another, thankfully I had 4G, so I looked on my map, another 35 miles, well, by golly, I knew of a cabin. This is one of them there volunteer cabins that I'm always blathering on about. Generally, they're old abandoned mining cabins or homesteaders cabins that volunteers fix up and maintain. And this one here is actually one of, if not the first cabin I ever went to. And somebody that I know personally does a lot of maintenance work, most of the maintenance work on this cabin. So, Dave, if you're watching this video, thank you for your service. Anyway, we drove all the way out here and we got here just before dark and the road was gnarly. I felt really bad for Larry because he's driving his BMW X5 and it was definitely a 4x4 road, but hey, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It comes down to technique a lot of the time, and Larry's got the technique. So he made it up just fine. Lucky for us, nobody was in the cabin. Larry hoisted the flag and built a fire, and well, we decided to hunker down here for the night because it sure beats freezing in the cold desert. Anyway, enough yakking out here in the cold. Let's go inside and see if Larry's got that fire built up yet. Now, I know this probably seems really creepy and terrifying to most people watching this. Like, really? You're out in the desert and there's all these creepy old buildings and there's a picnic table. But there's Larry's and my rigs. But yeah, man, I stay in places like this all the time. This is better than the Ritz if you ask me. Oh wow, look, yeah, he's got it all fired up and cozy in here. Oh my goodness. Larry!
Hey, whoa.
Thank you for your service, man. This is cozy. Let me just shine a light on you. There you go.
No problem.
Yeah, man, look at this fire Larry got going. Cozy. It's toasty in here. Oh, Larry's reclining by the fire that he just built. And meanwhile, well, gosh, I might as well start. Well, if Larry's this is like a little house on the prairie, Ma and Pa. Larry's Pa, he built the fire. I'm Ma, well, I guess it's up to me to make dinner. Frito Pie, here I come. I got all the fixins set up here. Tonight we're going to be having classic recipe Frito Pie. None of this fancy stuff, like sometimes I'll use weird vegetables. Tonight we're back to basics. Amy's organic chili, my favorite. Rotel. And corn. Then we got some shredded cheddar cheese, and of course, the key ingredient, Fritos. Okay, better start getting these cans heated up. Okay, first things first, I gotta open these cans, just crack them open a little bit so that when I put them on the hearth to warm up, they don't explode. Oh, dang it, this Rotel needs a can opener. Well, this is one of the best provisioned cabins I've ever been in. I'll bet you anything there's a can opener. Oh, look, there's one right here. Okay, now normally when I cook Frito Pie, I just put the cans right in the campfire, you know? Since we don't have a campfire, we just have this wood-burning stove. I don't see why I can't just stick them right in here in the front. Oh yeah, it's fine. Tuck these bad boys in here. Matter of fact, I could probably put them even closer to the fire. There we go. They ought to heat up there in, well, maybe 20 minutes or so. Okay, actually, before I sit down, I might as well go ahead and prep my bowl for the Frito Pie. Let me show you how one preps one's bowl for Frito Pie. Now, you can eat Frito Pie off a plate if you want. I just like to have it in a bowl because it makes it more like a pie. So first you just dump in as many Fritos as you want, and well, I try not to go overboard on the Fritos because they are a lot of calories, but gosh, I sure do love Fritos. So I always end up putting a little bit more than I should. And then next, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some cheese on. I like to sprinkle cheese on the Fritos before I put the chili on it. That way the chili melts it. And again, like with the cheese, well, I should probably go light, but golly, I love cheese. Whew, all right, well, I think the cans are bubbling in the hearth there, so it's time to dish up the Frito pie. Ooh, yeah, that's nice and hot. And then I'm gonna dump some hot chili on top of my cheese and Fritos and get it all ooey gooey and melty. Yummy. Okay, next up, Rotel. Corn. Okay, now unfortunately Larry doesn't want any cheese on top of his Frito pie. So you know what that means. I'm gonna have to use the whole rest of this bag on mine. Okay, there she is. A delicious steaming bowl of Frito pie. Oh, I forgot. There's one other thing I like to do, and that's top it with just a few more Fritos. Because you know, you can never get too many Fritos. I don't know how many of you guys are old enough to remember the old Fritos commercials from the 60s, the Frito Bandito. Larry, you ever see the Frito Bandito?
Yes.
Ay, 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 ay. I am the Frito Bandito. I love Fritos corn chips. I love them, I do. I love Fritos corn chips. I steal them from you. Unfortunately, it's probably not politically correct anymore, but man, look it up on YouTube. That commercial's a trip. It's a guy from the 60s wearing he looks like Don Draper from Mad Men. You know, buttoned up shirt and like horn rim glasses, and he's sitting there eating a classic bag of Fritos corn chips, and then this little cartoon Mexican bandit comes in and, well, basically threatens to shoot him for him. It's a trip. Check it out. Anyway, I'm going to sit down in front of the fire and enjoy my dinner. Okay, I'm sitting down by the fire. There's really not much light, but Larry volunteered to light the shot for me so you can see me taking a bite of this delicious Frito pie. Look at it. Steaming, ooey gooey melted cheese, Rotel, corn, Fritos, look at that. It's about to fall. I don't care who you are. Gavin Newsom, going to French Laundry. This is the best dish out there. Whew. That Frito pie was delicious. I just washed my bowl and my spork. And well, now, while Larry and I were debating as to whether we wanted to sleep in here, where it's nice and warm and toasty, or in our cars, where we already have our beds made up. And well, it looks like Larry made his decision. Larry, you decided to sleep indoors, huh?
Indeedy.
Oh, look, Larry brought his bedroll in the house. You're just gonna lay it right out on the floor in front of the fireplace?
As close to the fireplace as I can get, ma'am.
I don't know. Can I trust myself to be sleeping on the same cabin floor as Larry? You know what they say about Larry.
What?
I've done it before. I slept on the floor at the geologist cabin with Larry, and he was a perfect gentleman, so I think it'll be fine. I just have to go... Man, I already made my bed. It's in my car. It's all tucked in nicely, but... Gosh, I have a feeling if I go out to my car and... Well, once I step outside this cabin and realize how cold it is, I'll be happy to bring my bedding in here. All right, I made my bed. I just basically dragged everything out of my car onto the rug in here, and Larry did the same on his side. So we're like Ricky Ricardo and Lucille Ball, sleeping side by side in our separate twin beds. Remember how they used to do that on the TV show? Anyway, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I'm just gonna wash off all this makeup and get ready for bed. Finally got into bed. Yay! What a long day. All right, well, this is actually a super cool cabin, and there's a lot to show you, but it being so dark, well, there's no point in shooting more footage tonight, so I'm gonna get a good night's sleep and wake up bright and early in the morning and show you all the wonder then. Nighty night. Good morning. We survived our night in the cabin. And now that it's bright outside, I can show you in much better detail what it looks like. Let's grab my coffee, go sit outside and look at the beautiful new day. There's my bedroll. I haven't packed it away yet, but yep, we slept right here on the carpet. in front of this cozy fire. It stayed real toasty. Man, it got so toasty that I actually had to take my pants off. And, well, it's because I have this wool blanket. Man, if you guys have never used a wool blanket, let me show you what you're missing out on. Yeah, this, man, it's doubled up at that. It's 100% wool, so it's probably not very comfortable to have next to your skin, but I've got a fuzzy blanket under it and a sheet under it and another blanket over top of it, and let me tell you, that thing will keep you friggin' warm. Okay, let's go outside, because we just heard a coyote howling out here, so apparently there's all kind of wildlife out here. Oh my god, it's just beautiful. What a day. Look how gorgeous this is. November 24th. Right before Thanksgiving. It's not actually too cold out here now that the sun's out. There she is, Old Glory, flapping in the breeze. And there she is, my trusty steed, ready for adventure. Better get my sunglasses. This is a 3 cup of coffee kind of a morning for me. But we got everything packed up, and, well, as cozy as it is just hanging out in this cabin, well, I've got a lot of adventures planned for today. So unfortunately, I gotta make my way out of here. And by the way, I noticed, I don't think that clock is right, but there is a thermometer in here, and it's only 50 degrees in this cabin, and I believe it. I mean, you can see I'm all dressed up, but I got plenty of places to go. So that being said, we're gonna leave this little cabin for now. Before I leave, I'll do a quick tour. Quick because I've actually already made a whole video about this cabin. Early in my YouTube channel, I came up here with, well, I was actually with Adrenaline Jackie, if you follow her YouTube channel. Me, her, and our friend Eric came up here and spent the night. We didn't stay in, well, actually, Adrenaline Jackie and I did sleep in this room here on these 2 little bunks. And then Eric slept outside in his truck. But you can see there's plenty of sleeping quarters here. Plenty of extra seating. Man, those are cool chairs. And then back here, there's even a couple other rooms with more beds. Look at that. 2 more people could sleep there. There's another little table. It's nice and warm in this room because the sun's coming through these windows. And then here's kind of like a game room. Darts. And a real comfy looking bed. Bench seating along this side. And then that door goes back into the kitchen. Oh, and then back in here is kind of like an artifact room where there's a bunch of cool old stuff that people found on this property. Look at this. Old cans, real old. Look at that old Prince Albert tobacco can. Or how about this old Pennzoil can? Some Mobil gas can. Crush, remember that? Anyway, you can go back and watch my first video. I think there's more detail in that, but I don't want to say too much about this cabin because, well, the people who take care of it, I actually know, the one guy, they really don't want it to be on blast on social media. But all I'm going to say is, the guy who originally built this cabin and lived here was amazing. That's him right there. Looks like a real nice guy. And the story of how he ended up here is super interesting. Well, I guess he was originally from Los Angeles, LA, but he was born in 1899, so in World War I think he was sent overseas to fight in World War I, and you know how they used that poison gas back then? Well, it really messed up his lungs, so when he got back home, stateside, he decided it might be better climate in the desert for his respiratory system. So he moved out here to the Mojave Desert and lived the rest of his life mining a little claim out here in this valley, I think. Somewhere across the way there is a little mine that I think he worked. And, well, he just had this whole area all to himself, which, golly, can you imagine any cooler place to live? And he's actually buried, oh gosh, somewhere right across the valley there. There's a little loop road you can take that goes past that's another cabin you can stay in, and then there's some old abandoned ruins back yonder, some bunch of old cars and buses. But if you follow the loop all the way around, it comes to a little graveyard, and he's buried there to this day. Anyway, Larry was kind enough to shovel out the ashes out of the fire, clean everything up. He swept the hearth. Both of us left a few items in the pantry for future visitors. Larry actually unloaded a ton of food. He had a bunch of supplies he was carrying around that he didn't need, so I think we're good. This place actually has a pretty cool little outhouse. I remember being blown away the first time I came here because I had never been to any cabins like this before, and oh my gosh, there was an outhouse and there was wet wipes and hand sanitizer and everything in it. It was amazing. Curious to see if it's still as nice 4 years later. Oh, yep, your standard outhouse, but it's clean. All right, now that that's done, there's only one last thing I want to shoot on this trip, and that is something that we passed coming up here on the way up. Now, we got here last night right before sunset, and we didn't have a ton of daylight left, and I wasn't sure that this cabin was even going to be available. So, sorry, one of these solar lights fell over. I'm trying to put it back in. They have these solar lights marking the path to the outhouse. How cool is that? Anyway, we didn't have time to dilly-dally on the way up here, but it was the most amazingly beautiful friggin' sunset. The sky was pink and purple, and oh my God, we drove through this Joshua tree forest on the way up. But part of the Joshua tree forest, well, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about on the way back down. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. There was a terrible wildfire here. Oh gosh, this past summer, I think only a few months ago, and all these Joshua trees got burned up. And it's super interesting to look at what they look like when they're burned. I mean, look at this. These things look otherworldly anyways, but when they're burned up, it's a trip. Like, I don't know why they get that weird black and white mottled effect. I guess the black parts are like the charred skin, or, well, I was gonna say bark, but I don't, oh, you know what? I don't really know. You know what? Let's look at there's a Joshua tree over here that mysteriously escaped the burn. So let's look at this and then compare it to the burned one. You can see here on this healthy Joshua tree that I guess it kind of does have bark. Interesting. I never thought about it, but so I guess this is the stuff that got burned. And then the white patches are the skin of the actual tree trunk. Like you can see here, there's a little patch. It's white underneath. I didn't realize they were white underneath. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, it looks visually very striking, like we're in some kind of weird dystopian Dr. Seuss book. But imagine what it looked like last night driving up with the sky all pink and purple in the background. Oh, it was really hard to just keep driving and not stop and take a billion photos. But unfortunately, we had to get where we were going while we still had daylight, because this road is gnarly, and I'm frankly surprised that Larry was able to navigate it in his X5. Good job, Larry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now because I got to go, and I've got many more adventures to shoot today. So stay tuned.